How would you like to restore vitality with tinctures and holistic health? If you're like the millions of people that are suffering from low energy and low vitality, you need to grab a seat and listen to this. And we have a very exciting guest. Her name is Angel Altman. And what's so special about Angel is that she found herself facing a series of debilitating symptoms years ago: bilateral joint pain in her ankles, hips, shoulders, and wrists, chronic shortness of breath, and a dependence on her inhaler. And as a nurse, she recognized the signs and soon received the diagnosis for lupus. And because she wanted to discover what to do something about it, she managed to optimize her condition. And now she's going to share more about how she managed to do this and how you too can optimize your own condition, and how you too can revitalize your own health with tinctures and holistic health. So, Angel, tell us more about how can entrepreneurs who are feeling overworked and overwhelmed, what can they do to restore their vitality?
Heal podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, first and foremost, the first thing you have to do is breathe. So many people, when we get overwhelmed, when we get frazzled, frustrated, the deadlines start coming up, or we're not where we want to be, we start getting that overwhelming feeling to hurry, to rush. And what that does is it causes our body to go in this state of fight or flight. And so we begin to do this shallow breathing. So shallow breathing actually limits your ability to focus. It limits your ability to think clearly. So whenever you're struggling with any kind of overwhelm, when you're struggling with any debilitating illness, the first thing you want to focus on is breathing. Breathing is going to bring the body back to a state of calm, and it's going to help to kind of clear some of the cobwebs and things that are kind of overshadowing our thoughts and processes. Once we get the breathing down, the easiest way to introduce any kind of natural remedy is through tea. Tea is easy. It's something that anybody can do. And most of the time, unfortunately, when I say tea, everybody thinks of McDonald's drive-through, and you go through and you get your big, your big sweet tea. What I'm talking about more is herbal teas, remedies that are targeted. And that's what we do, is we focus on targeted stress reduction, cortisol reduction, liver support, lymphatic support, different aspects, just using simple herbs that help to support the body and bring the body back to a state of calm and a state of balance.
Thank you. Tell us more about breathing. Is there anything to do in order to breathe better and restore vitality that way?
So the easiest way is what they call box breathing or four square breathing. So you're going to inhale counting to 4, hold counting to 4, exhale counting to 4, hold counting to 4. And you're going to do that and stay in that cycle for about 2 to 3 minutes. What that does is it triggers the brain to calm down and to go back into what we want to be in, which is rest and digest. So when we stay in a state of fight or flight, we breathe very shallow, we breathe very rapid, because the body is ready to either fight the bear or run away from the bear. That's what it's planning to do. So when the bear comes in the room, whatever that may be, our stressor, overwhelm from work, family events, health issues, whatever that stressor may be, it causes the body to go into that shallow breathing. And then it's almost impossible to catch ourselves, and we stay in that state. So a lot of times, if people just throughout your day, if you put your hand right here, you will find that you're doing a lot of your breathing up here. You're not doing as much down in here. And this is when we breathe down into the body, that's what triggers the brain to relax. So it's just simply. And then you're going to keep that cycle going. And like I said, you want to do it for a good 60 to 90 seconds minimum. And that's going to kind of calm and reset the brain.
Thank you. Is this kind of breathing for vitality for anyone, or would you say that some people are breathing fine and they don't have to do this?
Almost everyone requires some sort of breath enhancement because we're in a fast-paced world. Our phones are dinging, TV, music, traffic, everything is constantly going off all the time, and it's constantly distracting and catching our attention. And when those things are going off, they keep you in a heightened state. And that heightened state is where we do more shallow breathing. So if you're sitting in traffic, if you're finding yourself getting agitated or just stressed out because you're going to be late, that's a really good time to bring yourself back to a state of calm and focus on that box breathing. You can also exaggerate it a little bit. You can do more of a intentional exhale. And what that does is it can potentiate the brain a little faster. So on the inhale, you're going to count to 4, hold counting to 4. Exhale, you're going to count to 8, hold counting to 4, and then just keep that cycle up. So that exhale is doubled.
Thank you. Tell us more about healing with tinctures and herbal tea, as you mentioned earlier. How do we know what kind of herbal tea is good for us? So, for example, I'm 43 at the moment, and
Mhm.
I have notes like perimenopausal because the symptoms. But let's say I've been having sore throat and cough for the last 10 years. And I have noticed that actually I have a really big hair fallout and
Mhm.
a reduction in libido uh, and like a 99% reduction. And I'm wondering for someone who doesn't have these symptoms, but let's say, how would they know what kind of tinctures and what kind of herbal teas would be good for their specific condition?
Well, my recommendation is always work with someone who knows what they're doing. So what I do is I work directly with um, my customers, my clients. I work directly with them. We sit down and we go through exactly what symptoms they have. I also look at medication. This is where that nursing background comes in really handy because some herbs will interact with certain medications. So I want to know the medicines you're taking, the supplements you're taking, and then the goal is to design, herbs specifically for you. Now, I do have some that are more targeted, more general. Anybody who is struggling with any kind of health issue, you always want to start with the liver. The liver is the most important. It filters everything. And people think about what they eat. I mean, it's becoming more common that we think about what we eat and what we drink impacting our liver, but people don't realize your laundry detergent, your fabric softener, your dishwashing detergent, the color of the dyes in your clothing, the type of clothing that you wear. All of these leach into the system and they impact your liver. So the liver is where a lot of toxins are filtered out and removed. And if that liver becomes overwhelmed and it has a high pathogen load, a high toxin load, then we add in perimenopause starts, or we have issues with a hormonal imbalance, pre-diabetes or diabetes. When we add these things in, the liver becomes very overwhelmed. And so starting with the liver is always best. And we always want to start gentle. The liver's overwhelmed, so we definitely don't want to be harsh or go at it, really fast. We want to slow down and simply drink milk thistle. There are so many studies on milk thistle and how it can impact the liver. So I usually recommend a dandelion and milk thistle tea that we offer. It focuses just simply on calming the liver, flushing it out. It supports the liver. The liver is also the most regenerative organ that we have. So it's constantly rebuilding itself and working to reset itself so that it can be more optimal. So always starting with the liver is the first place, no matter what your issue is. That's going to be where you want to start.
Thank you. Are there any other like tinctures or herbal teas that you recommend in order to detox the liver? I guess the liver is something that everybody needs to worry about.
Yes, yes, everybody does. So I usually, like I said, milk thistle and dandelion. We have it in tea form, but then we also have those people who just don't like tea. That's not their thing. So we also offer it in a tincture form. Now, tinctures do have an alcohol base, so there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can add it, like if I'm having a cup of tea or whatever, I can add that into this and drink it, or I can just take it directly. A lot of times you want to hold it under the tongue 30 to 60 seconds. The alcohol helps to pull the components out of the plant, but it also helps to increase how much you absorb it as well. So just holding that tincture under the tongue for about 30 to 60 seconds before swallowing it helps you to get that in. Now, tinctures are a little bit higher dose than drinking tea. So I usually recommend starting out once a day or once every other day, depending on what kind of issues you might be dealing with. Because again, we do not want to, the goal is not to overwhelm the liver or to um, make you have detox symptoms. A lot of people feel like if they're not experiencing detox symptoms, it's not working. But the goal is not to experience that. We don't want to have headaches, joint pain, nausea. That's not the goal. That means that your liver is overwhelmed and we're doing too much. So I always encourage people to start slow, progression over perfection. That's always the best way to start.
Thank you. What about for perimenopausal and menopausal women? Are there any specific tinctures or herbs that you recommend for menopausal women to take so that they can prevent issues before they arise?
So that's a good question. Again, it starts in the liver. Our liver is what filters out excess hormone. So women who are going through perimenopause and then into full-blown menopause that are having night sweats and all of the cravings and just all the crazy symptoms that go with that, a lot of times it's because that is their body saying, hey, the liver's overwhelmed. So the first thing I always encourage people, stop sugar. You have to stop the processed sugar and artificial sweeteners. Those impact the liver, they overwhelm it, they add to the problem. Um, Support that liver. Make sure that you're drinking the tea. We also offer, like I said, the tincture, but we have a box that's a tea box. It's called Sacred Cycle, and it is 4 different teas. You drink one each week, and it supports the body every phase of our cycle. And a lot of women think, well, once I've went through menopause, I'm done. My body doesn't make any more hormones, which is actually not true. Your body continues to make estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone the rest of your life. It just comes from different places. So this box also helps support any phase of life, whether you're young and just starting out. I have some young girls who are struggling with regulating their period and they don't want to take any, form of hormone. They start with the tea very young. You can drink it all through just to kind of help with symptoms of PMS or anything like that. And then once you start getting into that perimenopause and menopause phase, it can really help to reduce that. It can help with night sweats. It can help with sleep, a lot of the things that go with it. But then you can also use that into your 80s and 90s just to kind of help you keep that cycle and just kind of keep feeling your best.
Thank you. Are there any tinctures or herbs you recommend against sore throat, acid reflux, and cough?
So for any type of GI issues. So I want to break that down. So like for GI issues, if you have GERD, if you have indigestion, bloating, IBS, if you're prone to diarrhea, if you're prone to constipation, if you just have a lot of slow motility or dumping syndrome, we actually have a tea called mint and fennel. It works to reduce inflammation in the GI tract. It helps to start restoring the gut lining. It helps to reset motility and in the gut. So I usually recommend that people start with that. We also have our elm, chamomile, and myrrh capsules, and this is a powder blend that you take at bedtime. The main reason you want to take it at bedtime is so that it lays in the GI tract and it works while you're sleeping. And it's a range of herbs that focus on, again, potentiating the healing of the gut lining, restoring it, reducing inflammation, and sort of it's a sort of a catch-all. It focuses on many aspects, but the end goal is to reduce inflammation so that the gut can start healing its lining and resetting itself.
Thank you.
It's best used in conjunction with supplements and things to restore the gut as well. As far
Thank
as sore throats and sinus, so there's a couple of things that you can do. We have Nature's Defender, which is a tea that has several different potent herbs that work on virus, bacteria, yeast, mold, things like that. So you can drink the tea a couple times a day. It's going to help with whatever's going on here. It also will help to balance things that are going on in the gut. We also have that in tincture form because, again, sometimes people struggling with strep throat, things like that, they want something that's on location. So you can actually put that in a little bit of warm water, our antiviral tincture, and just gargle that while you're doing it, kind of rub your neck around. You really want that to soak down into the tissue. And then we also have a mullein and marshmallow cough syrup that helps to thin that out so that that drainage can start flowing out of there and it doesn't sort of stay in there and get stagnant, which potentiates infection.
Thank you. What about any tincture or any other solutions for mucus, for like the sore throat? Is there anything else that aside from what you mentioned?
So that we have the marshmallow and, or I'm sorry, the mullein and marshmallow cough syrup. We also have a mullein tincture that we use. And then I have a lot of people. So a lot of times when people struggle with mucus, it's usually related to asthma, COPD, chronic bronchitis, and it tends to get thick and phlegmy and it sticks there. So we do have a tea called Breath of Life. I have a lot of people who are struggling with chronic emphysema, COPD, asthma that absolutely they just love it. They are drinking this almost daily to keep things flowing. It also helps to open up airways because a lot of times when that builds up, we start feeling like we can't breathe. It makes us feel restricted, which then makes us breathe more shallow, which then messes with our oxygen levels. So we offer that. We also have an herbal capsule called Oxyflow. Now, Oxyflow has beetroot powder. It's got mullein. It's got several different things in it that helps to open up not only the bronchial tree, but it also works on nitric oxide. So nitric oxide helps with oxygen exchange in the body, and it also helps to increase circulation so that all of these components can get where they need to go in the body.
Thank you. For people that are worried about the link between the gut health and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, to prevent getting that in the later life, is there anything they can take as a preventive measure in terms of tinctures, herbs, or any other solutions?
There's actually several. So there's a lot of herbs that work really well for the brain, for cognition. There are new studies coming out every day on the neuroprotective and, neurorestorative effects of certain herbs. So we have a couple of different things that we usually recommend. One is our monkey brain tea. So a lot of people who struggle with ADHD, cyclic thoughts, inability to focus, the monkey brain tea can work really well for that. And we have it in tea form as well as tincture for people who just don't want to drink tea. But it has different mushrooms. It has bacopa. It's got yerba mate. It's got several different components in it that help to stimulate cognition without that overload and that overstimulation we get from like energy drinks or drinking a lot of high caffeine things. So it has a more natural impact. There are certain mushrooms that work really well for the brain, and lion's mane is amazing for what it does for the brain. So I always encourage people to, really, research whether the tincture form is better for you. If you have multiple issues or if you're just wanting an overall systemic effect, I usually recommend like a 14 mushroom blend. That's always a really good thing. It's going to not just work on cognition, but on immune health, gut health, just so many other aspects. We also, like I said, we have the monkey brain. in the tea. We have it in tincture form. And then we also have one called Neuro Support. And this might be more what you're looking for like Alzheimer's and things like that. It has herbs that they are currently studying for like people struggling with MS or people struggling with, early dementia and stuff like that. The goal again is just to get these herbs into the body, as well as, implementing them with whatever your doctor has you doing and certain supplements. I never recommend any of this as an end all. This is supposed to be a supportive measure to kind of help you naturally, or for people who just are very opposed to medicine, but definitely not in place of it.
Thank you. For those people that are relatively forgetful, do you recommend also some of the supplements that you mentioned already, or is there anything else?
So a lot of times that comes from overstimulation. So I typically, a lot of people don't realize that they have lived their entire life overstimulated. They don't, they just think that that's normal for them. They're constantly brain firing. They're always thinking, like right now, instead of being in a podcast, they would be thinking about the next 5 things they have to do later this week, or what they did on their drive in this morning, or what they've got to do tonight. It's like their brain is focused, but something's running in the background. And so for those people, the best thing they can start doing is learning to become more focused, especially with that breathing. And I know I say become more focused, and everybody's like, okay, well, how do you do that? Again, it's multiple steps. It is using herbs that help to enhance that. It's learning to retrain your brain. Okay, I'm not going to entertain these thoughts. I'm going to keep reminding myself this can wait, instead of it constantly running in the background like it always has. It's also implementing that breathing, because breathing helps to slow down things and bring things back into focus as well. Meditation is huge. And a lot of times people will say, well, I can't meditate. I can't think about it. I get distracted. I just can't focus. I encourage people to start with a 5-minute guided meditation. Focus on just listening to the voice. If you try to do it without that, a lot of times we just get lost, and it's very hard to hone that back in. But starting, 5 minutes and just allowing yourself that time, as you get better at it, you can increase to 10, then to 15, then to 20. The next thing you know, you can do a half-hour meditation, but it's going to be starting at that small point of 5 minutes.
Thank you. Are there any other supplements specifically for focus? And the reason I ask you this is because I remember when I was much younger, when I was going to pass some exams, I took some, I think it was like some soy supplements that looked like chocolate. So because they were like
Mm-hmm.
sweet and so on, and they really did help. Like, because I think that I really struggled with focus. So even now, for example, like I'm a genius, okay? In terms of like there's so many creative things that I can come up with, but the thing I struggle with is actually completing the stuff. It's very easy for me to come up with the idea what I should be doing, and to kind of like direct someone else to say, okay, you do that. But it's hard for me to like sit down and actually do it. But I remember that I had the similar problem when I was younger, and I was taking these kind of supplements, and because I was taking these supplements, I was able to like learn 100 words in 30 minutes, okay, with a certain
Mm-hmm.
method that I have for learning, and then use that to actually, you know, really, pass an exam against other people that had studied 14 times more than me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm wondering, are there any supplements like that that can help people to focus?
There are a lot. I myself, I'm not plugging this or anything, but I'm a big fan of Alpha Brain. That's something that I do take pretty routinely, um, because I do feel that it helps just with general overall brain function. But I had a major concussion about 15 years ago, and sometimes I have days where I get just a little foggy, and that does seem to really help. Specifically, I believe the biggest component is the alpha GPC that's in it. That's one that I do recommend for a lot of people struggling with any kind of cognition, brain function, or who are wanting to just enhance themselves. Alpha GPC is great. Bacopa is also a good one. Um, but if it's more for something targeted, if you have a kid struggling with ADD, ADHD, Um, if you have somebody who is just really struggling with, like you said, focus, they have a lot of ideas, but they're firing, and it's hard to get to the completion part. A lot of times that for me would require more of a one-on-one discussion so that we can find the exact right herbs that are really going to help you in the long run.
Thank you. Tell me about entrepreneurs who are struggling with their energy. What can they do from a tinctures or lifestyle perspective to increase their overall energy? Because I find, for example, when I eat little, then I have more energy. If I eat just like
Mm-hmm.
once a day, and then I can do a lot more. But let's say if I was to eat like a normal person, like 3 times a day, I can tell you after lunch, I would definitely want to sleep for a couple of hours. And if I had
Mm-hmm.
like a big dinner, again, I would want to sleep. So what can someone do to restore their energy and to be, behaving almost like an Olympic athlete in terms of how much energy they have to actually complete their work?
So I don't know that we could get to Olympic level without a lot of supplements and other, things implemented. But one thing that you can do is look at what's on your plate. So that's where it starts. All healing starts at the end of your fork, truthfully. So when you're looking at your plate, your goal should be to eat a multivitamin at every meal, meaning you have greens, you have, an array of vegetables, protein, and very little carbs and starches. Unfortunately, most of us were on the go. We're running a business where it's hard for us to sit down and have that big meal or at least that type of targeted meal. And we also get tired of having a salad every day. So, but that is where it really starts is eating at that um, multivitamin in every meal. You want to make sure that you have your greens, your collared vegetables, and the protein. You also want to be looking at a good supplemental foundation. So you want to be, making sure that you're doing a foundational multivitamin. And I usually recommend methylated because you want to make sure that it's bioavailable and your body can use it when you take it. So a good multivitamin. I always encourage people to take a magnesium complex. There's 11 different types of magnesium and your body needs all of them. So I always recommend either a 5-to-1 or a 10-to-1 magnesium complex. I also encourage vitamin C and zinc, as well as vitamin D with K. Vitamin D with K is paramount to so many people struggling with any kind of fatigue. If you're prone to, chronic infections, if you're prone to recurrent infections, get your vitamin D level checked and be making sure that you are taking at least 5,000 IUs of vitamin D with K every day.
Thank
The
you.
other
Tell
things you
me.
can add in would be probably NAD, urolithin A, um, possibly glutathione. Those would be the other supplements I would recommend adding in just to kind of enhance the mitochondria and antioxidant level.
Thank you. Tell us more about NAD and glutathione, and what are the roles of these supplements to restore vitality?
So as we age, the mitochondria in our cells age with us. Imagine that. But depending on our pathogen level, depending on how much stress we're under, depending on past history of infections, it can actually impact our mitochondria, meaning it becomes less optimal as we age. So we start feeling more fatigued. We start catching colds easier. We start feeling that midday slump a lot heavier than we did. So NAD helps to work on that mitochondria, resetting it. Urolithin A comes in. It's also a great component. It helps to target that mitochondria and get it back to where it needs to be. Glutathione is a really powerful antioxidant. It helps with liver function. It also helps with, 1,000 different processes in the body. So it's really important to have glutathione on board when you're trying to heal and restore, because it's also going to help improve detox pathways and various processes in the body. As these things improve, our energy improves as well. So anything that impacts our detox pathways is going to impact our energy. So making sure that we have things on board that support those things are going to, over time, help us to improve our energy production.
Thank you. What would you say increases the absorption of certain supplements? And the reason I ask you this is because I find that a lot of times if you're getting like a multivitamin, I can see, for example, like calcium and magnesium together and so on. And I'm not sure that those are actually supposed to be together. There are, I think, some vitamins that are not supposed to be taken together to optimize their absorption. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
So there are some that can they can interact with each other and they can reduce absorption. Um, I usually recommend Ancient Nutrition multivitamin. That's what I take. That's what I kind of feel has been one of the best. Um, I'm pretty sure when I've researched it, everything that is in it works well together. There are some things that may reduce this specific component, but it may actually increase this one. So there are some trade-offs with that. One thing that I do recommend, no dairy. If you're taking supplements, dairy can impact absorption. I try to take mine either with a protein or something that's light, or sometimes I take mine on an empty stomach. I've kind of got my own regimen down to where I know what's not going to upset my stomach. But if it does, I try to do it with more of a protein base and not dairy so that it does not interact. There are certain supplements, glutathione is one. You want to make sure you get it liposomal glutathione and liposomal vitamin C. That helps the body absorb it quicker and you do get more of it. There Most people have a form of leaky gut. So that means what they're taking in, they're only absorbing anywhere from 20 to 40% of what they're taking in. So, whenever we want to optimize it, we want to make sure that we take our supplements either with a mild protein or something light. If it's some certain, like I said, certain supplements you can take on an empty stomach. You also want to target them to the time of day. So you don't want to take vitamin D at bedtime. A lot of people do, but you don't, because it's basically a daytime, vitamin. It's something that you synthesize from the sun. So you don't want to take it and then go lay down in the dark. You want the body to be able to use that throughout the day. So I recommend that in the morning. A multivitamin you want to take in the morning because, again, it has so many of the daytime vitamins in it. I do take my glutathione at night because I'm using it more for restoration and to help support the liver. And our liver does so much work at night while we're sleeping. So I usually take my glutathione at night. NAD, urolithin, I take those in the morning. I usually recommend those in the morning because they will increase your energy slightly to significantly. So you definitely don't want to be laying there at 3 o'clock in the morning, twiddling your thumbs trying to sleep. That's usually the way I look at it the best. And I usually encourage people to look at it is make sure that whatever it's, if it's more for daytime activity, take it in the morning. If it's more for restoration and healing, take it at night.
Thank you. Tell us about NAD a little bit more, because I've seen people in TikTok selling it, and I'm wondering whether NMN, NAD, are there any particular brands that you recommend to take that are better than others, that are more easy to absorb?
So there's different ways of getting it. There's a lot of school of thought on buying things from influencers and stuff like that. Those are mass produced, and a lot of times you're not going to get the same impact as if you work with a, clinician or a naturopath or somebody who can prescribe you something that is a lot more targeted and a lot more regulated. So whenever you're looking at supplements, I always encourage people to make sure that they have the GMP seal. That means good manufacturing process. Make sure that they are produced here in a good reputable business, because you don't want to just be getting something from Joe's Garage out back that's mass producing something yet again. There are patches and lozenges that work well, but again, a lot of times you want to make sure that you get them from a provider because they are going to be a lot more effective, and you will actually feel a better response than just trying to take a supplement or something online. Unfortunately, with, those types of supplements, they are very pricey and there's a reason for it. So if you're actually able to get it for really cheap, there is probably some sort of issue with the quality or the amount as far as the like the milligrammage or dosage that's with it. So those are very, very I'm very kind of snobby, I guess, in those certain supplements. I always encourage people to make sure they get them from a reputable source so that they are getting exactly what they paid for and that they're going to get the best results from it.
Thank you. Tell us about how can someone restore the vitality of their hair with tinctures and other herbal solutions.
Okay. So a lot of times that actually starts in your gut. People don't realize that our skin, our hair, all of it starts in our gut. So we want to, again, target that gut lining. It can also be impacted by our liver. If our liver's not detoxing well, things build up. Massage is a great way to help with your hair, with your skin on your face. You can get a medical massage of the head and neck. You can get a lymphatic massage. You can actually get little scalp brushes and use those as well. I encourage people to use the lymphatic facial brushes and the different things to enhance that lymphatic flow. Castor oil is amazing. Castor oil is one of the best things you can put on your hair. I usually encourage people to put it on, leave it on for a half hour, 45 minutes, make sure you wash it out well. But it can help with that as well. Rosemary is also a great option. So I myself will just take plain rosemary. I'll put it in a mason jar, fill it up with water. I will let it sit for about 12 hours. And then sometimes I will just use it as a herbal rinse, or sometimes I'll put it on my hair and just soak it really well, wait till it dries, and then go in and take my shower. But again, I want that herb to really soak down into the hair follicles, as well as, stimulate the hair shaft as well. And then that methylated multivitamin, getting that good foundational multivitamin in, because we usually don't take in enough through our diet. And again, if we have any form of gut compromise or leaky gut, we're not absorbing as much. So that's going to compromise too. So again, that multivitamin, working on restoring the gut lining, reducing inflammation, and getting sugar out of the diet. Sugar always impacts, as good as it tastes, it always impacts our body negatively.
Thank you. Are there any devices that you recommend for restoring vitality? And I'm talking, I don't know, red light therapy or
Mhm.
some other frequency devices or other things that you might recommend for people to restore their vitality.
So I actually have um, basically a mat here. I get it from Higher Dose. It is their Go mat. It has pulsed electromagnetic field with it as well. I recommend that strongly. Red light therapy is amazing. I also encourage people to do that. You can actually get red light caps and wear them on your head if you're struggling with hair loss. If you have issues in the body, if you've got if you've had surgery, you can actually put targeted red light on that scar as it heals, and it will help to increase that healing process. I also encourage people to use grounding sheets or grounding bands. That can be great for helping the healing process. It can also be over time, it can help with rest, it can help with immune health. There's a lot of great functions with that. One of the best things you can do is biofeedback. There's a few practitioners in our area that use biofeedback to work on the frequencies of the body. This can help with, if you've got a lot of transient, strange symptoms that you can't seem to really get answers for, biofeedback can be very helpful in kind of giving you the direction to look. It can also help to reset a lot of different things going on in the body. It's something that it works for a while, but then you have to keep going back and keep working on that, along with implementing, all of these other modalities to kind of keep it potentiated. There's a thing called biofield work. You can just through simple hand places on the body, you can reset certain energy lines throughout the body that will help with energy. It will help with gut health. It can help with different things like that. That is something I offer here at the shop. Acupuncture is always a good one. It also works on resetting those things. Medical massage. I encourage everybody to get medical massage, making sure that you are moving the tissue, moving the lymphatic, tissue. That is so important. Hydrogen tabs or hydrogen baths. I think those are great. We get ours from H2 tabs, and it's just I get my bottle of water in the morning. I throw a tab in that, drink that a couple times a day. It does help a little bit with mental clarity for me. It does help a little bit with energy. But the main thing that I've noticed is it has a huge impact on like little achy joints and things like that. You can also get it in tab forms to put in your bathtub. So you can do, just hydrogen baths. But if you really, really, really want to change your mind or change your life, you can do one thing and most people will feel amazing afterwards. And that is 15 to 20 pounds of Epsom salt. Soak in it for about 20 minutes. And it's amazing for what it does for the body, the tissues, aches, pains. And it allows you also that 15 or 20 minutes, you actually have to sit there. So put your phone in the other room, don't have it in your hand, and relax. Focus on your breathing. Allow your body to just calm, and it will absorb that magnesium a lot faster. And it does impact circulation, lymphatic flow. There's a lot that goes into just that one bath.
Thank you. In terms of restoring sexual vitality and reducing the likelihood of getting urinary tract infections, are there any tinctures or supplements to take?
So we have a couple of different teas. One of them is our love potion, and it is designed more for herbs that support, sexual health and different things along that line. It has herbs that are beneficial to both men and women, so either one can use it. We also have it in a tincture form. Now, it is not like taking Viagra or Cialis or anything like that. It is a much more natural route. So I usually encourage people if you think that's something that might be occurring, you can consume the tea or the tincture a half hour, 45 minutes beforehand. And you can do like 1 to 2 cups of tea or 1 to 2 dosages of the tincture. The other thing for urinary health, we do have a tea. It is our cranberry comfort. It is designed for people who are prone to recurrent UTIs, that just have a lot of urinary pain, bladder spasms, maybe some leakage, things like that. It is designed to support the urinary lining and just overall help with urinary function. So that's another one I would encourage for people that are dealing with anything like that. The other thing with that is if you're someone who is prone to frequent UTIs, especially after intercourse, if you have to hold your urine for very long, I encourage people to use basically a handful of coconut oil and kind of fill in that area either before intercourse or anytime you're having any of that dysuria, that pain, burning sensation. Coconut oil can be really soothing, but it also has some antibacterial effects. So it may help to reduce those symptoms as well.
Thank you. For people suffering from Candida, is there anything they can do to restore vitality there?
So Candida is a really nasty monster. It impacts your cognition, so it's going to impact your brain function. It impacts your gut health. It actually hijacks your brain and will basically it'll cause you to feed it by craving sugar. The first thing I usually encourage people to do is you really want to stool test. You want to know exactly what you're dealing with. And then there are targeted supplements and herbs that you can use that will help to reduce that, kill it off. But you also want to know that it's not a fast thing because as you kill off yeast, there is a die off effect to it. It can cause you to have, aches, pains, headaches. It can cause either constipation, diarrhea. It can change the color, consistency, and odor of your stool. So there's a lot that goes into yeast. But if you're somebody prone to dandruff, if you're prone to thrush a lot, if you are prone to yeast infections in the armpits or maybe in the groin area, the belly button, for women, if you're prone to vaginal yeast infections over and over and over, you almost always have a yeast overgrowth of the gut, and that's what's feeding all of these other issues. So you really want to target that. And that is more of an individualized thing. It's very hard to just generally say, this is what you do, because it is a very targeted thing that takes quite a while. I mean, we're talking probably a good 6 to 12 months.
Thank you. How can someone restore vitality if they are feeling sluggish? And how can they stimulate that blood flow so that they can feel energized again, aside from what you mentioned earlier?
Rebounder, a little tiny trampoline rebounder, 1 minute. That's all it takes. So a lot of people will say, oh, I just don't have the time. I don't. It's super easy. Um, while you're getting ready in the morning, put the little rebounder down on the floor, turn on your watch, 60 seconds, and you're just lightly jumping. We're not talking, we don't have to be Olympic, doing gymnastics or anything in the air. Just a simple 1 or 2 inches off that rebounder for 60 seconds is going to stimulate lymphatic flow. It's going to stimulate circulation. It actually massages all of your organs as you're rebounding. And what people find a lot of times when they get done is it gives them a huge energy rush. So it does help with that sluggish feeling that, oh my goodness. So if you get up in the morning and you're really struggling to wake up, maybe set your alarm for 2 minutes and jump on that rebounder and just test it. See if it doesn't make an impact on how you feel.
Thank you. How can someone restore vitality if they're generally afraid of getting like an artery clog, or let's say if they're generally eating very, very poorly, they're eating a lot of like, I know, burgers and chips and fatty food. What can they do to fix that with tinctures and other habits?
So again, one of the biggest contributors to clogged arteries is sugar, processed sugar. So reducing that or getting it out of the diet. The other thing is cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is such an overlooked, amazing thing, but cayenne pepper helps to increase circulation. It has anti-inflammatory properties, so it can help with, aches and pains and things like that. It also helps to clear out arteries as it's working. I strongly encourage people to be doing cayenne pepper every day. You can also use cayenne pepper topically. So if you have neuropathy or if you have joint pain, you can I usually tell people cut an old cotton t-shirt into little sections maybe about that big, and drizzle some olive oil on it, sprinkle the cayenne pepper on it pretty heavy, put it right on that knee or right on the bottom of the foot, secure it and wear it for about 2 hours. And it usually will help to reduce the pain. It increases circulation to that area. So it's helping to, perfuse the tissue with incoming nutrition, and it helps to clear out a lot of the detox and the inflammatory cells as well.
Thank you. For menopausal women and perimenopausal women, do you recommend any particular tests they should be doing to find out what their hormones are like? And are there any other tinctures that could help them to stabilize those? You did mention a little bit earlier about that, but is there anything else you want to add to what you said?
Sure. I always encourage people to get a saliva test. We want to look at your hormones over the course of a 24-hour period. And also, we would like to get you or have you get one that has cortisol in it as well. So we're going to get not just the female hormones, but we're going to get the cortisol levels as well, because cortisol can feed a hormone imbalance. So we want to look at all of that together. Once we know exactly what, might be too much or not enough, then we can help you to balance that out. A lot of people find that wild yam cream or wild yam oil is a great way to reduce some of those perimenopause and menopause symptoms. Again, so progesterone is the master hormone. It basically tells estrogen and testosterone, as well as the pituitary and all of the other hormones. It has a say in what everybody's doing. So if you are estrogen, dominant, or maybe you're estrogen deficient, progesterone is going to help balance things out. So I usually encourage people to get that saliva test first, just to make sure that we know exactly what we're targeting. But then a lot of times we find that adding in that wild yam cream or wild yam oil over time, along with using the sacred cycle box of the different teas. We also have one called Balanced Lady. So it helps to target the liver and get the liver working, but it also has various herbs in it that also help to kind of balance out progesterone, testosterone, estrogen as well.
Thank you. Tell us how people can connect with you.
What is it? I'm so sorry, you broke up.
Tell us how entrepreneurs can connect with you.
So you can find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Also, I have a website, teaoflifeapothecary.com. I have a shop in Chillicothe, Ohio. So if you're ever in the Ohio area, this is a great place to stop in. I also work with a holistic provider, and we also have a separate practice that is a holistic medical practice, which is virtual for a lot of people who are looking for something more natural. We have that as well, and you can find that on my website.
Thank you.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.